Peace Week, Addis Ababa 2022. The forum and pilot initiatives were part of the decade-long program Action for Peace Pan-African Campaign 2021 through 2030. Executive Director for Action for Peace, Ibrahim Cisse, and other participants of the forum put their remark as follows.
Thank you very much. My name's Ibrahim Cisse Shalom, but in Ethiopia I'm known as Gabr Amlak Mikel. And then I'm the coordinator of the Action for Peace Pan-African Campaign 2030. And then what we're trying to achieve basically is to come up with initiatives in Africa that can be able to champion the culture of peace, but also silence all the guns in Africa before 2030. So our campaign is a campaign movement that is already in 33 African countries. We started having for 5 years something called the Arts for Peace Forum, done here in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. And now we want to magnify the idea to go to something more big and more lucid. That is the reason why we're having the Action for Peace campaign. So today, the meeting is happening at the African Union Commission in the same hall where the African heads of state are meeting to take decisions. We are also meeting before they meet to also take decisions for peace on behalf of young people and also peacemakers in Africa and the diaspora. So this is what the campaign is all about. We are launching the campaign here, and then we're going to have regional campaign launch with the regional economic communities. And then by July 2023, we're going to have national campaign launches. The reason why we're bringing all these different initiatives and putting them together is because we want to form a movement. So first of all, we're a movement that runs a campaign. And then how are we organized? We are organized, first of all, at the so-called central level with a steering committee of representatives from all parts of Africa. And then your humble self, you're representing the Media for Peace team. And then secondly, we're also organized from the regional level. So at the EAC, West Africa, ECOWAS, and then at the national level, we're also organized. So now, what we're doing is we're making our effort systematic. We're taking it to the national and grassroots level, and by the way, working with already existing structure. So for example, in Ethiopia, we work with the Ministry of Peace. As you can see, they're part of the program. Other countries, we're going to work with their Ministry or National Council for Peace, youth councils, and then the various focal points are going to self-organize themselves according to the campaign. And then the big question is, when you organize people and bring them together, how do you fund the process? That's always a challenge. So that is why we're listening to this, and then we're making sure we have a very important element of our program, which is the Action for Peace Innovation Fund. That's, people that have pilots are able to apply and then do whatever they want to do with it. So we've been collaborating with the African Union for the past 5 years in organizing the Arts for Peace Forum, to be specific, the Silencing the Guns Unit Department. And then this collaboration that we've been having has now, journeyed into something called now the campaign. So they are supporting us by giving us logistic support, providing the facility, and then we do involve each other in our activities. We do co-create. As you know, the African Union doesn't give funding, but it's a member state organization. But they provide the platform and the opportunity, and then we're making good use of that. It will surprise you to know that our organization is a self-funded organization. We don't receive funding from nobody. We normally receive personal donations from members, because we have about 16,000 members in 33 African countries and diaspora. So whenever we're having any event, they tell them, they contribute. The reason why we don't want to collect money and funding from people on the outside is because they are able to influence the work that we do. And then we want to be independent, because peace is a serious business, and then we are serious to make sure there's action for peace in Africa, starting from Ethiopia. The idea of attaining sustainable peace in Africa requires three things. One is a vision. We already have a vision, and our vision is a peaceful and prosperous Africa that is at peace with itself. So that is sustainable peace. And then that is in alignment with the UN SDG 16 and also Africa Agenda 2063. So that is one. Then second is mission. Our mission is, in order to achieve sustainable peace in Africa, we have to make it people-centered. So that's the challenge. Huh? Peace is not about government, about authorities, it's about the people. And then how do you make your mission people-centered? By involving the people from the word go at the beginning. So that is exactly what we're doing right now, Mr. Safe. And then thirdly is, what are our strategic objectives? Our strategic objectives are very simple. One is to make sure we have a collective voice for sustainable peace in Africa, organized in forms of movements, meetings, networking sessions. And then two is to bring together everybody so we can have a coordinated effort in achieving peace. Because right now we have the Tana Forum, we have the UNESCO Pan-African Cultural Peace, 1001 process. So our meeting is supposed to be the meeting where everybody comes to report. That is the reason why we're not having it out of the AU, we're having it at the AU. And also, I also want to thank His Excellency, Musa Faki. He has been a friend and a colleague for over 5 years. We've been supporting his mandate and his vision. That is why he gave us access to this hall. And then also, during the end of our conference, we are supposed to give His Excellency Faki an award, a peace award together with Obasanjo for the great work they've been doing in promoting peace in Ethiopia and also in Africa. And also, notwithstanding also, you also know that we also have some cultural diplomats. For example, Moto Asake were given an award, receiving the first Pan-African Cultural Award for cultural renaissance for his evolution in music and everything. So why are we doing all this is to show the link between all these important initiatives to promoting and championing peace in a very targeted manner. So from here, we're having 3 activities. One is to send the report and outcomes of our meeting to the Office of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia to say, as young people of Ethiopia, this is what our contributions are to the peace process. Yes, the bottlenecks. Oh, the bottlenecks, the challenges. Okay, fine. So that is the challenge actually. So one is having access to do that with the people who will also pay a courtesy call as young people of Ethiopia to say, Your Excellency, we are here as young people who support the peace process, who support the vision, and then we are here to serve. That's why we're here. And then number 2 is also to say that finance is a challenge. This meeting, as you can see, was organized by us with all the little resources we have. So we want to get resources, and that continues to be a challenge. It's not a challenge because we don't want to receive resources from anybody. So that is number 2 challenge. And then number 3, when you talk about peace, we need to communicate in the language of peace. And then majority of the people in Africa don't speak English or French. So how do we communicate the language of peace? That is also a major challenge for us. Yeah. Yes, sir. So one of the pillars of Agenda 2063 is an Africa that is at peace with itself. So basically, there will be no activity and no launch of any initiative without having peace first. Peace contributes to economic, tourism, political. So what we intend to do is to also engage the national government. Because you cannot talk about peace, you talk about peace at the national level. And then secondly, from here, we are having an engagement with the Ethiopian Ministry of Peace, where we are organizing community peace dialogues in 7 regions in Ethiopia. And then finally, I want to say the reason why Ethiopia is important in bringing peace here for the entire Africa to have peace is because Ethiopia is like the big mother of all the African countries. She has never been colonized, and then she's very beautiful, and then we know her history, and then her time. Thank you very much.
I am Hannah Germa. I'm an artist, and I am the ambassador of the African Artist Peace Initiative. I've been part of this for almost 10 years, I guess. So this is all about the peace and the harmony that should be invested and reflected on Africa to, to do so many things, to work on so many programs and to employ through peace. And I believe this forum will help achieve these goals. Everything is possible in this world, and it all needs commitment and want to work on this, many ideas, to put all them together. And I hope it will be effective and efficient. I think it all starts with action, just like as they were saying earlier. We plan so many things, we talk so many things, but we tend to be less effective on the action. So I believe, as a person, it's better to work on the action rather than, just talking on the media or on all other platforms. And yeah.
I'm here to attend the Conference of African Initiation for Peace. There were different kinds of organizations and firms here today to talk about the concept of peace. There were, for example, just to mention a few, there were people from tourism, from education, from media, and from different parts of society and different parts of organizations that impact the society in a very large scale to talk about one concept, which is peace. So trying to hear different perspectives from different people, different officials about their view of peace and what they're actually doing in their respective firms to actually attain peace in Africa was a big lesson learned and a big experience. The main reason, if we look at history, the Europeans came was because they thought that Africa did not have organizations. That's what they called it. So they wanted to bring religion, they wanted to bring these peaceful organizations. But even if you look at our culture, we have, for example, because I'm Ethiopian, we could look at abagadas. You know, we have a process called shimagale. That's one of the biggest and ancient processes that we have to attain peace, right? So we can see that we had organizations, traditional organizations, ancient organizations, and they have been working for Africa for a long time before the thought of democracy even came, right? So I really believe it is possible to attain peace in Africa as long as we put our ears and our eyes on ourselves and not the international community and not what other people define us to be, because we are who we are, and I believe we should be able to define who we are ourselves. I believe media plays a great role in impacting peace in anywhere, actually, because the sectors that we've been mentioning in our meeting, the different sectors, all of them use media as a platform and as a tool to reach the ears and the eyes of the society, of the government itself. So I believe if media is as big as this, we can say it depends on how we use it. For example, if we use fire to get warmth, to get heat, and to cook stuff, it's beneficiary. But if we are going to use it for distraction, it will also be used as that. So I personally think media is this influential. I believe we should stop defining ourselves how the international community defines us, because they define Africa as a conflictual continent, as a black continent, while we also know that they are using our resources, our gold mines, our people, human labor for their industrialization. So to get this media, if we can define ourselves, know who we are historically, economically, where we stand, what we have, if our definition of ourselves is right, then we can influence the media in that way. And having a skillful and accountable media firms is the main, I think, way to achieve what you just said. If you actually see the history, we can see that we never had like Ethiopia or African countries don't produce weapons themselves. They actually import it, right? So the Westerners are the ones that are arming Africans to create conflict with each other. So understanding the main agenda of the people that are not with us, of the people that are not Africans, why are they giving us weapons if they're actually promoting peace in the international community? That's a question that we need to ask, because they're the first world-class weapon developers. Africans are agriculture, most of them. So in silencing the gun, I believing that there can actually be peace created among the community is where it starts. You do not need weapons to solve your problems. Problem-solving skills are given everywhere, but our very elderlies have wisdom. They teach it to their children. They don't teach us to use weapons, but through communication and negotiation. So using our diplomatic ways and using our diplomats by themselves and using our diplomatic wisdoms and leaders, we can actually attain the silencing. My ideal Africa, and the one I really hope to see, is the one that is independent, the one that has her own currency. The border lines that are created by Europeans should be erased, and we should join together. And I really believe in Pan-Africanism by creating there are problems, we are not denying that, but we should be the ones to create the solutions. So I believe in creating African solutions for African problems.
Ideal Africa is a peaceful and experienced and alive Africa. Everyone should know who they are as a value, as a soul level. So when they know who they are, then they can reflect the same to the community, and that will bring the sustainable peace.
I'm a facilitator on this Action for Peace initiative, and also work as an assistant facilitator on Media for Peace initiative. Action for Peace initiative is an initiative that is created to bring a prosperous and peaceful Africa, and also in the world. So Action for Peace has a lot of departments under it. It works to bring a country which has peace, not only by words but also by actions. That's why it's called Action for Peace. It has business for peace under it, culture for peace, media for peace, education for peace, which has a big impact to bring change in Action for Peace. Media for Peace works to bring media into making media a neutral place in which people get interviewed or people share their ideas without being judged by politics and without even being feared to talk. So it also promotes freedom of speech so that people can contribute into their ideas and have their own opinion without even being feared, without having the fear to address their potential and ideas about a certain propaganda or politics or economics or any other sectors or aspects.
I am the executive assistant for the Action for Peace initiative and also the founder and the president of United African Youth Organization. So when we think about peace, peace is the foundation for development and for being to build a bright future of Africa. And also when we think about the peace, the youth have to be involved and engaged in such kinds of really big initiative, because when we think about the future family, the future community, and the future Africa, it lies on the youth's hands. So investing on the youth, working on the youth can create a lot of opportunity for the youth to achieve everything that they want to achieve as a vision. So this initiative is like working on the youth, at the same time is working on the peace. So this means it's working to build a bright future for Africa and for the rest of the continent as well. So being the part of this initiative have inspired me to work on my vision, because it supports us in different way, not only giving us the knowledge, but also it gives us the opportunity to communicate with a lot of people with a lot of experienced person. So we are so happy to join this initiative. And also, it's had a lot of advantage in different ways, and especially when we think about women, it's also basically works on the women, because 50% of the population is a women. So if we want development as a continent, the women have to be involved in those kinds of initiative and those kinds of programs. So I'm leading the Sport for Peace department under the Action for Peace initiative. So when we think about sport is more related to peace, because when we think about sport, there is a unity, there is collaboration when different people are working and using to do different kind of sports. So sports can be a model for unity, for teamwork, for collaboration. So when there's collaboration and teamwork, wonderful things can be achieved. So through that, peace can be built. So sport and peace is related.
My name is To Obn. I'm a founder and CEO of Sport for Change. It's a civil society. I am based in Addis. Besides that, I'm also a professional life coach and consultant on education and sport. We're very happy that we are participating in Action for Peace Forum in Addis Ababa at the AU premises. I am representing Sport for Peace initiative while this forum to share my expertise, but also to share my experience with the youth and different organizations who aims and try to foster peace initiatives in Ethiopia and also in Africa. We're using sport as a means or as a tool to transform lives of a youth for a positive youth, and building positive youth requires each person's or individual's efforts, because peace starts from me and it starts from you. So if I am in a peace that can be shared. If you are in peace, that can be shared. So our initiative really focused on different sustainable development goals and the Agenda 2063, where we are aspiring to see a transformed Africa, and youth have a power to do so. So my organization have different pillars where we try to really bring all actors who are working on sport, youth organization, international organization, and others to really foster and have synergies toward this, the goals. But also we are working also on sustainable and inclusive approach where we can manage and make sure that peace is not only when there is no conflict, but it should be everyone have a peaceful life and should have a peace in mind so that he can contribute to the development goals in general. So our approach really use different types of sport, not only one type of sport, because we try to be more inclusive, and for that matters, we really use different types of ball games, athletics, and other sports where we try to facilitate youth can really participate while they are having a life skills. So those life skills can lead them or support them to manage their anger, to be self-reliant, to have self-esteem, self-confidence. In this way, we can assure that peace is assured. Peace is secured by everyone, and everyone have a contribution, especially a youth contribution. So while using this methodology, sport can have a greater impact to transform these skills.